Famine mentality never works.
Yeah.
It just never works. So if you're worried about who's coming in next door or taking your business or anything like that, it's like, well, you're taking your eye off the ball.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Same Business, Different Day podcast. I am your host, Zeke Corley, with a very, very special episode today. It's not going to be like our normal episodes. This is going to be a little bit more casual, bouncing around the room a little bit because I have three guests, friends of mine today. So I'm going to start on my right with my friend Ralphie. I should say Ralphie. Ralph Lazariga. I got Justin Stambaugh, and I also have Josh Smith here with us. So they're from Brewing Co., Brew, and we're just gonna have some fun talking to them, right? So I appreciate you guys all being here, and hopefully you have some fun, man. I tried to get you guys a little sip beforehand and have some fun. Welcome to the studio and welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Yeah, happy to be here.
Absolutely. So I want to start off. So it's going to be, the reason I say it's going to be different than usual is because it's we're not going to just go through the whole journey, the whole life story, but we want to talk a little bit about it, right? We want to talk, touch on it a little bit. Josh, I know where you're from, but why don't you tell everybody where you're from?
Originally from Sacramento.
Yeah.
Grew up there, kind of bounced around Washington, Alaska a little bit, and then came down to San Diego about 2009.
Alaska.
Yeah.
How many years in Alaska?
Just one.
Yeah.
One season.
Do you remember?
Yeah, it was seventh.
You were old enough?
Grade.
Oh, okay.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Really?
Fishing, outdoors. Great.
That's dope.
Really
That's
cool.
dope. How about you, Justin? Where are you from?
San Marcos, actually. So basically, I've lived almost actually in every city that the 78 touches. So Escondido, San Marcos, Vista, Oceanside, pretty much all throughout this area. Know it well.
It kind of works that way, doesn't it?
Oh, it's great.
I mean, like when people who are actually from North County, you've touched them all, right?
Yeah,
When
definitely.
I first got here, I moved to Carlsbad from the Bay Area. I was in San Jose. I was in Oakland before I moved here, but it was Carlsbad. But I lived in Oceanside, I've lived in Escondido, and I live in Vista now, right?
Yep.
The only place I haven't lived is San Marcos, but
I'm just searching for cheaper rent.
Exactly. I respect it. How about you, Ralphie? Where are you from originally?
I'm born and raised San Diego.
Wow.
Grew up in like North Park area, moved up to Temecula for high school, then spent a bunch of time in the Central Coast, like Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, before coming back here.
Now, a lot of folks that I've met, when they're actually born and raised San Diego, their parents are military or ex-military. Is that true with you as well or not?
My dad is civilian, but worked for the Navy for 30 years. So,
Okay.
So military adjacent.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay, so another question that I usually ask, and I'm going to ask all of you, is aspirations, what you wanted to be. Do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I think growing up, I always wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know why. I think it's because I like to argue. But
You like to get your way.
yeah, I do like to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to be right. I like to convince people I'm right. But I think going into it, and then once I got into college and everything, I realized it's not as glamorous as Law and Order makes it seem. And so that kind of went away a little bit. But
You could drive glamorous cars, and live in glamorous houses, but the lifestyle,
Yeah.
the grind.
Yeah, exactly.
My sister's a partner at a law firm out there in LA, and she's got a beautiful place out in Beverly Hills. But what does she have to do on a daily basis to get it?
that's the thing.
I haven't seen her sleep.
Yeah.
No, I mean I haven't seen her sleep. Seriously. How about aspirations for you, Justin?
I guess that actually started like pretty young. I remember distinctly my dad and I used to go and do Christmas lights for rich people in Rancho Santa Fe. And that was kind of like, I remember specifically, and I was a kid, he would pay, I would work, whatever hours, and he would pay me $100 every season. And I just remember looking at all these rich people's houses and then also getting a little bit of that entrepreneur spirit from my dad, doing this as like a side gig. And I was like, man, I want to be rich. I remember how big these houses were. And, obviously now that's changed a little bit. I'm not just trying to be rich. I want to make cool shit is really
Sure.
what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I do remember that sparking super early for me.
That's
For
dope.
sure.
So, I mean, really, so it sounds like you knew you had to do something in order to be like them.
Mhm.
But, you know, some people take shortcuts to being rich. So what was the actual job that you thought you might do in order to accomplish what your goal was?
Oh man, see, at that age, it was so early that I didn't have a job in mind.
Mhm.
And I knew I wanted to open a business though. And I remember as a kid, I would dream of all these crazy elaborate businesses. We went on a cruise, a princess cruise when we were a kid. And I was like, I'm gonna start a cruise ship. Clearly, you know, that was a little audacious. But yeah, it was all sorts of things. The skateboard shop. It was just all these things as I kind of matured as a human being, you know, just growing. I was like, ooh, this is my interest. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. And then, you know, slowly that turned into restaurant, wanted to own a restaurant, and then switched over to brewing. And now I'm kind of like combining the two. So
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. That's cool. You're an entrepreneur. You're an ideas guy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely an ideas
Yeah,
guy.
and you know, we like to tell folks not to just shut down those ideas. You know what I'm saying? You know, those big dreams. And I don't think the cruise ship is very audacious. Somebody owns one.
Somebody owns one. Yeah. And
So-
that's I always say, why not? Why not me?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
And I think that's more people need that mentality. It's just like, you can do anything you want, really. I mean, you're only restrained by your own knowledge, and you can always get more knowledge. So
I
that's
love
how
it.
I feel about it.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Josh, astronaut?
No, I don't think I had like a clear vision of what I want to do when I was a kid, but kind of like him, I would, me and my friends would like mow lawns. We would take the trash out of all the elderly people in our apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a little racket where we'd just go do it, and we make a good amount each week. And
Yeah.
I remember even like somebody was selling candy bars, and I bought their whole lot with my allowance, and then like upped the charge and went and sold them again. I got in trouble for it, you know. Not the most honest thing to do. I was like, for my baseball team, but I was always at a young age trying to like, me and my friends trying to hustle, start a business, figure out some way to like make money.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. I went to college, like community college forever, and just never really found a thing that worked until I found brewing. And that's really what I wanted to do. Like, my first real passion, where I knew like that's a thing I want to do for sure. You know?
I love it. In college, that's when you figured it out?
No, when I moved down here, I worked at BJ's Brew House.
Okay.
And they were like, brewmaster came in, and I heard him talk, and I just was getting into craft beer, and I was like, oh, I could do that for sure. Like the passion behind it was like so cool, and like caught me up.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the hustler, the ideas guy, and the debater. That's how you put together a
There you
good
go.
business, right?
Yep, that's a team right there. Yeah.
That's a team right there. So Josh, like early on, you mentioned BJ's, but were there other like hospitality businesses that you were involved in early? Like, I used to I bust tables for 3 years,
Right.
and then I waited tables for another 3 years. And I think everybody should do it. I think everybody should be a part, you know, because, you know, you're working for tips, you know, and you got people with different personalities, and, you know, they've got different moods, and they're hungry or thirsty, and then they get too much to drink. And you got to learn to deal with that and still get a tip at the end of the night. But you also have cash in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? And so there's an upside to that, but it's a good study of human nature too, right?
Absolutely.
That's it right there.
Yeah. So
I
what
started,
about,
I started early in restaurants. Well, my first job was telemarketing, actually,
okay.
which was really cool because it taught me like how to sell and like how to pitch things in a different way, which is still what I use when I'm at a table. Like I'll notice I'm saying one thing one way and it's not really hitting, you know, and then I'll do it a different way, and then it will like, oh, that works, you know. And so I really picked that up telemarketing when I was young. It was really fun. So like, but I started in restaurants when I was like 17 years old. So I've always done that. Even when I was brewing, I would still like on the weekends pick up bartending shifts, you know. So I always, you know, stayed in the industry for sure.
How about you, Ralph? Your early hospitality?
First one was a place called the Elephant Bar in Santa Barbara.
I remember Elephant Bar.
It was in its heyday. It was awesome. And I started because a friend of mine,
like Applebee's with animals.
yeah, a buddy of mine was working there, and I kept seeing him coming home with money, and I was, you know, I was in college. I was at UC Santa Barbara, and I was like, man, how do you get into this? He's like, you just show up. He got me a job, and that's the one thing, you know, I learned right off is like, the harder you work in these jobs, the more you'll make, the better you'll do. And, you know, so you just show up and grind, and you were making great money, and it was awesome. And it's like you only have to work a few hours and you get to go home. You get to hang out with all the people you work with. It's not like this 9 to 5. Like I always want to be active and I want to be, and so it was like perfect for me. And I always like to tell the managers when they were wrong about something. There was like a policy or like a certain thing on a dish that wasn't the right way, and I would fix it, and they would argue with me, and I'd be like, hey, I read the handbook. You know?
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was a great outlet for me to try to be like, I'll memorize every dish on this menu, and I'll get it perfect. And then when someone is getting it wrong, my perfect little, hey, I got you.
Hey, I'm also a lawyer.
Yeah. I think you should still go to law school.
I object.
I think you should still go to law school.
Yeah, they didn't like it that much, but.
This podcast is brought to you by yourinsuranceplace.com. Owning a business is hard work. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it every single day. You need a partner who understands the ins and outs of insuring small to medium-sized businesses. For over 40 years, our California Property and Casualty Insurance Agency has insured businesses just like yours. We've seen it all, and we've learned a thing or two about what it takes to keep your business protected. That's why we offer free policy assessments. We'll take a look at your policy and let you know if there are any gaps in your coverage. Let us help you to protect what you've worked so hard to build. yourinsuranceplace.com. The Film Hub is the future of co-working in downtown Vista. Get energized in an inspiring work environment that is built for your success. With multiple membership options for workspace and private offices, you can become a part of our co-working community. The Film Hub makes it easier to produce the professional content your business needs. From video production, live streams, photo shoots, or in-person events, you can create all this and more in our audio and video facilities. Love your work and where you accomplish it. The Film Hub.
That's awesome. Yeah, we used to hang out with the, there's an Elephant Bar in Burlingame.
Yep.
Right by the San Francisco airport. And so, yeah, you go over there and get a couple drinks before you get on the plane. Yeah.
Yep.
It was fun.
How about you, early hospitality?
Definitely, yeah. So I actually got hired at Applebee's without animals. This was the day of my 16th birthday. So I remember I went to school, I got my work permit through school, and then later that afternoon, Applebee's in San Marcos was hiring in a trailer outside because they hadn't opened the restaurant yet.
Okay.
They had no idea that this was going to be like some of the best experience for me because I get to open the restaurant also. But yeah, he hired me on my 16th birthday. I started a week later in training, and it was
Isn't
great.
that young?
Yeah. 16? 16 is as young as you can get a job legally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you,
but I was
part-time.
Yeah,
obviously.
part-time. I was working before then. My dad had me, My family is workers, so he, a lot of construction, a lot of, just working in the dirt. And I was like, restaurants are way better. This is,
Yeah.
You mean I don't have to shovel? Okay, I'm down.
Yeah, we used to mow lawns for sure for $6 a lawn. No matter how big your lawn was, I just roll up with the lawnmowers and be like, can you give me $6? I'll clean this thing up for you. But Campbell, California, not too far from San Jose. I used to ride my bike from San Jose to Campbell and work at Togo's. And that was my first job, and I was 14. The workers permit 14.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was good times, man. I think I broke a record for the fastest sandwich at the time. It was like 13 seconds.
Yeah, 14 years old. He's like, this is easy, old people.
These guys over there cutting themselves. Okay, so one of the other things, as you know, again, not to shortcut the episode and everything, because I think you guys are still dropping good gems, and so I appreciate you once again, like I said, for being here. How about pivotal life moments, like one of those, big decision moments in your life? You know what I mean? That someone who's listening can learn from and just say, wow, that's what Josh decided to do in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And it could have steered right or wrong, who knows, but that might have been the time when it's kind of woke you up and just, took you into the direction and where you are today.
Yeah. I can take that one. Or start.
Yeah, please.
Mine's easy.
Okay.
Because my daughter had, that was the most pivotal thing that ever happened to me.
Sure.
I would not be the same person now.
When you had your daughter?
Yeah, so she's 9 now, and I'm 35. So I was 26, which is not the youngest, but I was just out of my mind with how crazy I was at that age, you know?
Okay.
So just a lot of drink. I was brewing. I was also bartending. I was doing, you know, it was just kind of,
You were the life.
it was a negative mix in my life at that point. And I just remember, I remember the day that I found out that it was actually my ex at that time. So
Sure.
that she was pregnant, and I just broke down crying. And then, but yeah, I mean, that has changed the trajectory of my life more than any one thing
That's it.
at all.
I love
And yeah, she keeps me on track. She's the reason that I started the brewery in general,
Okay.
for sure.
I love it. And so that brings me to a question then that I'm going to pose to you guys. I'll pose to Ralph and Josh. Because you guys are in that life too, right? Sitting behind a bar, you're brewing beers and all of this stuff too. How do you get to a maturity level where it's just not all, I'm just going to keep tasting and keep tasting and party all night and whatever? And how do you balance that? Because a lot of young folks who get into it and become good brewers, good bartenders, and can still get up in the morning and live, but they know they're not living the way that you would live if you knew that you had a baby here, that you had to take care of, a family to feed. Like, how do you, like, I see you every day, Ralph. No, I shouldn't say every day. I'm not at the bar every day, people. I'm not at the bar every day. So I see Ralphie all the time, but Ralphie's not sitting back there, you know, sloshed and drinking. Ralphie's a professional, one of the best. Josh is one of the best. So how do you do that?
I think for me, it was, I've seen the other side. So I took a step back from bartending to go into management. And that was a tough call because it is a lot more work for less money, but you get the experience to do it. And when I got my first shot at opening my own restaurant as a GM, that was huge for me. That was, you know, it's not like having a kid, I'm sure, but it's the weight of the world to me. I got 70 employees, I got owners, I got everyone looking at me to make this work. And that 5 years, I mean, I got gray hair. It wasn't from kids, it was from that tough job. And I think doing that gave me the appreciation of what I'm able to do now. And it's my quality of life, where the bartending that I'm doing now isn't fun necessarily. It's not just to go get drunk and hang out. This gives me my quality of life to be able to be home at night, to be able to do the things I want to do, to travel. Whereas when you're young and you don't realize that, you just think, oh, I only have to work 6 hours. That means I get to party more. It's like, no, it means you get to do the things you really want to do. You can read stuff you want to read. You have that time. But I would never have done that if I didn't work 50, 60 hours a week for years. And it really kind of showed me like how valuable your time is. So now it's awesome for me to be able to do that.
That's wise.
It's about finding that balance, which is hard in this industry sometimes, you know? Even when you're seeking it, things will pop up, this event or this thing, and you're like, oh man, you know, like, sounds silly to be like, oh man, I got to go drink this thing. But like when your life is so consumed with that stuff, it's hard to find the balance sometimes. But like he was saying, if you want more out of this industry, I'm always someone who like doesn't get bored, but always just wants more. If I'm not at a spot where I'm at, where I'm growing or learning, or I'm always seeking, you know, something different. So like I bounced around a little bit, you know, from brewing to now I'm in the cocktail world and, you know, trying to do consulting, and, you know, my drive to like get more out of this industry has to balance me out a little bit, because you can't just party your life away and, you know, stay a bartender forever. So, you know.
No? Well, I mean,
I'm
not
still
that
doing
part.
it, but
Well, shit. I mean, no, I think that's a career. I mean, there's no doubt about that you can still, you know, make money forever doing that. But no,
but if you want
the
more,
part about the partying your life away, like, I think there are a lot of folks who think, you know, they're gonna be young forever.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
And that's a big part too. You get all, you know, the time can take you out that game easily. You know, like
you wake up
or
one
cover
day,
the
it's just
same,
like, I can't believe I've been drinking 10 years straight. You know?
Yeah, youth fades real fast when you're drunk. You know, like it's just gone, and you're like, whoa, where's my life now? What is my kind of purpose? So you'll wake up out of a stupor, and it's like, yeah, well, you just wasted all these years. You got to be, you know, it can be. You'd rack up like that. So got to be on it.
That's wild. How'd you guys meet?
I met Josh through Belching Beaver. So it's another place that I work for, that I've been there for years. That was my first GM job. And
we met before that, Thomas even. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so our
Years
head brewer
before,
for Belching Beaver is Thomas, who's an old college friend of mine. And so we met through that. And I had just known Josh, and when I was looking for good people, it's hard to find good people in our
Good
industry.
people to work for,
Yeah.
you mean?
As a manager, when you're trying to find employees, it's so stressful to be able to rely on people. But I knew Josh, and he had been brewing for Belching Beaver for a long time. So when he wanted to come back onto the other side, the hospitality side, I was stoked because besides me, there's not many people I know that are like just into hospitality for hospitality's sake. So we ended up working together for years. He and I like to say we fight all the time, but it always ends up with better ideas than either one of us started with.
Yeah.
So it's awesome because like when you have that working with you, it's so much better.
Right.
And so we've been work colleagues and friends for years. So luckily I was able to follow him to his next project.
I would like you to define good people. Define what it is that you're looking for.
Oh man, it's hard because it's everything. It's someone you can rely on, someone that you can trust, someone that's going to tell you when you're wrong, someone that's not afraid to stand up to you even though you're their boss. It's someone who's creative. It's someone who wants to grow, but not so fast that they won't do the job they're doing. So it's really it's someone that you would trust your business with when you're out of the building.
Mhm.
That's what I'm looking for when I hire, and it's so hard to find because they have to have everything. I mean, and no one's perfect, but you'd be willing to leave your keys with them and say, hey, I trust you, you'll get this done. And if you don't get it done right, we'll figure it out. And it's hard in this industry because people are scared, they're inexperienced, they are immature. If there's access to booze and they can have whatever they want and there's no boss, all those things where it's like, hey, if I leave you with a bar full of booze and no cameras on,
Yeah.
can I trust that you're going to be responsible? It's like,
Right.
so all those things, and it's hard.
And you found that in Josh?
I did.
Did you notice that too? Like, you knew you were a good fit. You knew you were, you had the right mindset or mind state to go into what Ralphie was doing?
Definitely, yeah. I think, I've always found a way, like Ralph was saying with his first, restaurant thing, finding, studying the manual and finding, I've always been the one who like finds a more efficient way to do something, even when I was bussing, no matter what it is. So I've always felt like I had a good mindset for this industry because there's so many working parts, so many ways to make it work.
Yeah.
But Ralph really brought in the hospitality thing to me and like really like focused it in my mind. It was always there for me. Like I always loved going to work and making people happy.
Yeah.
But I never really thought about it in the way that I do now until I met Ralph, because Ralph is just like the hospitality guru to the max.
Facts.
He just in his life too, like just in like we were on a plane the other day and he noticed I didn't have headphones and he went and gave me his nice headphones and took the backup headphones and like gave me like a shot on the plane and like he takes care of people. Not in the restaurant only, everywhere in life. Like he embodies it. And so meeting him, it took my passion for that part of it to the next level, because he's always just there for you. So like,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Love you, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm sorry, I keep calling you Ralphie too.
That's good,
Man. I know everybody else calls
That's
you
good.
Ralph, man. But so how'd you get so lucky? How'd you meet these guys?
I've known, Ralph newer to me, but I've known Josh for, it's got to be 14-ish years.
Really?
But he worked at Sublime Ale House in San Marcos, you might remember. Closed down 2 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And I was at Rip Current Brewing there. I was the head of brewing operations for Rip Current. And we kind of knew each other from there and just kind of mutual friends and, slowly started kind of developing a little bit of a friendship. And then more recently, 2-3 years ago, when I was just talking about this project and I knew, this was the guy, just connections wise, obviously skills wise, like I knew he was just from having conversations, not necessarily like trying his drinks, just having conversations with him. The skills were there on the cocktail side, but also like the knowledge of business was there. And I knew he had kind of dabbled in a few other business ideas, dabbled in some consulting. And I was like, hey man, if you ever want to do something, I'm interested. I'm looking for somebody to fill the bar management role.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took, at that time he was like, I'm doing something else. And I was like, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
And then it all came back maybe a year later. He introduced me to Ralph, who has been a godsend, I must say. That's why he is our hospitality manager, because he's right. I got the second pair of headphones, by the way, on that plane.
Yeah.
So that's how amazing, and not just that, like the training that Ralphie gave during this during our actual 2-week training,
Yeah.
just you can't get better.
Yeah.
You know, and just the
True.
way he was driving points home, you know, just forever grateful. Number one for Josh, but also for introducing me.
He makes me
to
look
Ralph.
good when I bring him anywhere. You know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm awesome, but this guy's also cool. He rolls with me.
I
so,
thought Josh was great,
heck
and
of
then
you.
he introduced me to Ralph, and I was like, no, Josh, you're better now. Thank you for that. You know,
Anything I ask, he's like, what does Ralph think? I'm like, damn it, I should have never introduced you.
Anytime because I know he likes
He's got to co-sign everything now.
I know Ralph likes to argue specifically with Josh. So anytime I sort of disagree,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we should talk to Ralph
Right.
and just see if we might be able to team up against you. So
I love it.
You gotta have a tiebreaker, you know?
absolutely,
You gotta have someone come in and break the tie.
that actually is a very serious point, though. Like
Sure. Yeah, break that down because that's
three
business
people,
right there.
3 people makes that is the dream right there. You want
Right.
3 people because 2 is too. It's just too little. You can butt heads, but 3 people, you know, you can really kind of flip the narrative to somebody and make somebody realize points that you would be maybe I just disagree with you to disagree.
Mhm.
It can change your mind in a good way, and my mind, you know, like I've changed my thoughts on so many things. Can't be rigid in this business.
Sure.
You
We're all
have
very
to-
opinionated people
Yep.
and see things from slightly different angles too. So it's nice to have that back and forth. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
for sure.
Especially when you're surrounded by good people, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
That's it. Okay, so being in San Diego, I shouldn't even say so-called, the capital of craft brew. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about, you know, being a master brewer and being the great brewer that I've read that you are. And
All lies.
so can you guys talk to me a little bit about the experience of craft beer in San Diego County and North County?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it'll make you jaded a little bit. It'll make you change your perception on it. But San Diego has been amazing for me to be in this beer industry, specifically because of the people. So that's been an awesome part of it. I've seen the craft industry, you know, I started in 2000, a little bit before 2012. The end of 2011 is when I got my first professional gig. And I've seen it kind of go through its boom cycle, go into a bust cycle. I've seen different styles become, you know, just outrageously popular and then die off. I've seen a little bit of all of it. It's a great industry to be in. I think that now we're seeing a huge shift in because if you remember in 2012, you could open a brewery and it could be in just a random industrial park in the heart of, you know, the industrial area in Vista, and it could be very successful.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden there's 150 of these, or 100. It was like 190 or something. I think it might have even crossed 200 at some point. And it's like, yeah, we're all going to do the same model. And that's not the case anymore. And that's why we had that shift into a more forward-facing model of having, you know, actually I just copied Belgian Beaver. I was like, hey, that's working for them, this restaurant. That seems to go really well.
You're welcome.
But yeah, craft beer industry in San Diego has been an interesting ride for me. And, you know, I tried to, once I opened the brewery, I tried to realize early where things were shifting and try to make the play before, you know, try to go to where the puck is going, you know, essentially. So.
Yeah. It's hard to stay ahead, though. I mean, that goes for any business. It's hard to stay ahead, but it's even crazier when the market gets saturated like
Absolutely.
that. You know, because you got to be the ideas guy. You got to figure out, like, how are you going to stay ahead?
100%.
But at the same time, what I've learned over the few years that I've been up in this area and witnessing the industry is the community, right? It seems that the brewers community is pretty solid. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah, the small industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think honestly that's kind of what got me to go over to this project is I've been at Belching Beaver since it opened. I was the first employee there, and I love it, and I love what it's done for downtown Vista, and seeing someone else coming into downtown Vista that has that same kind of mentality of we want to bring quality stuff to Vista, we want to do all that. That's what kind of I want to help because a rising tide lifts all boats, and I love seeing something in Vista just more and more and more. Like if you looked at Vista when Beaver opened compared to now, it's just night and day, and I think it has to do with you have that sense of like come down here, you get to see cool stuff, you get to see cool people behind those bars or tasting rooms, and it's like this is awesome that it's down here, and it's only going to be better the more we have, the more we can all be friends and get people down here and feel that. If people are in downtown Vista being like, this is the place to be,
Right.
it's good for everyone,
But for the Virgin coming in too, it's nice.
See, and that's crazy. That's awesome. That's an awesome way to look at things is that, it's good for everyone.
It is.
Famine mentality never works.
Yeah.
It just never works. So if you're worried about who's coming in next door, taking your business or anything like that, it's like, well, you're taking your eye off the ball a little bit, aren't you? If you should be thinking about how to improve your business, how to give better service. Consistent service is consistent sales. Like it's just so you need to internalize and not worry about the neighbor. I personally think that like my thought on downtown Vista is I would love 5-7 more awesome restaurants, and then we create a walking area, a destination area, because more places, more awesome places will drive more people.
Downtown Temecula, Old Town,
Mm-hmm.
it's insane.
Yep.
Oceanside, what they've done.
And so many locations.
Yeah.
There, great
It's crazy.
locations. Yeah.
Like, that'd be awesome if Vista is that.
Absolutely.
Packed.
Yeah, if there was one great restaurant in Temecula, no one's really driving up.
Yeah,
Maybe, but it's a way bigger
basically.
sell when there's a bunch of really cool places you can bounce around to.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do that in Vista.
Right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit, though, Justin, about the intricacies of starting a business. Right now, let's get out of. We didn't get a chance to talk about Stave and Nail, but even if we take it to another level and talk about the restaurant, let's talk about Prey Beer.
Yep.
First of all, I love it. All right.
Thanks,
I appreciate that you guys have brought something like that to Vista. Vista has been starving. I've been starving. I've been going to Oceanside because I'm starving. And I've been going to other cities because I'm not getting fully satisfied with the restaurant, the restaurants in Vista, whether it's quality of food, pricing. I'm a foodie on all levels. And so I know what I'm looking for. And I'm so happy that, Prey is here. Now, with that said, I know it's still an uphill battle. I know that there's a lot. I know about the slim margins of restaurants. I insure a lot of restaurants. And so I know that, figuring out that menu, Josh, we were talking about consulting and stuff. You and I have had long conversations about location, menu, foot traffic, all of the things that go into it, and obviously the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what goes into jumpstarting something that's as awesome as Prey?
It's just an overnight success story.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. 1,000%. Every time I take on a project, I always think this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And then stupidly, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're like, man, I'm never going to stop working. But yeah, so like I kind of mentioned before, with Stave and Nail, I could feel the drawbacks, obviously, being in kind of an industrial area. I knew that we needed something forward facing, so we started kind of looking for that. But like all the way back, basically from inception, I got COVID in 2020 and was out for a week, and I wrote the business plan in that week. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do something productive with this time, and then pulled in a business partner, got an investor. And to be completely honest, this project snowballed into something way bigger than I thought it would be, which thinking back on that, I'm so glad that we did make it bigger and not just settle with, let's just kind of middle and get into the market and maybe not do cocktail or, not be such a large restaurant. I'm glad that we kind of put the money where the mouth is and went for it. But yeah, it's been a very difficult process. It is very time consuming. You go from searching for properties, that takes forever. Trying to find the right space. We probably toured 20 plus, mostly coastal. And then this location, that was our radar was Oceanside, all the way up into Encinitas, basically. So from north to south, it was that kind of area. And then our guy was like, hey, I've got this spot in Vista. And I was like, okay. I mean, I like downtown Vista, I like the area. We came and saw the spot and I was like, well, this is obviously it. That negotiation process takes forever. It's time consuming. It's kind of costly with lawyers and everything. Building the actual business model was also just so time consuming. You're going from nothing, which is entrepreneurship in general. You know, you take an idea that is literally air out there and you turn that into something. And I think that's the coolest part.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're the hosts of I Like Beer, the podcast. Teachers by day, beer drinkers by night.
We promote local breweries. We toast, roast, and pour one out for all things beer and life related.
Come play beer or not a beer with us.
Find us wherever you get your podcasts at I Like Beer, the podcast.
Welcome to Velocity, the Vista Chamber podcast, where we dive deep into Vista's heartbeat. Join engaging conversations with local heroes, movers, shakers, and change makers shaping Vista's spirit. Tune in anytime, anywhere for a personalized connection to community stories. Velocity goes beyond info. It's a bridge connecting Vista's diverse voices. Hosted by me, Chamber CEO Rachel Beld. Powered by the Vista Chamber of Commerce, your go-to for the heartbeat of Vista's vibrant community.
And so that's definitely another lesson for the folks is that even though you sat down, you had that week to sit down and create that business plan, you had to rewrite that business plan.
Oh man, it looks nothing like what we, you know?
Yeah.
I think we had initially, I was like, well, we could do like a sandwich shop deli style thing. Was flirting with the idea of cocktail, but it wasn't in my original business plan. You know, originally I wanted $300,000. I look at the money that I was asking for then, and it was just absurd. But also pandemic, it was like right when the pandemic had dropped prices on things and before we saw all the inflation. So I was writing this business plan kind of in, prehistoric times essentially, because now we're looking back and like things 3 to 5x in cost while we were searching for a location. And I'm just watching like, oh my God, the sand is dropping down this sand aisle. We better hurry up and get this location. But yeah, it looked nothing like what the final product was. And that's like so important. You got to roll with the punches and you got to not be afraid to go with the big idea. If you have the right people, then no idea is necessarily too big, but I knew that I couldn't do a lot of the expertise thing. So I knew that I couldn't build out the cocktail list. I knew that I couldn't build the food side. So that's, you just supplement with the right people. And that's where Josh comes in and he's like, we're going to buy everything. So I'm going to make this so great. And it did turn out to be amazing,
I'm good at spending money.
He's good at it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Hey, Mateo, you see how good Justin is with these analogies, man. We got the sand dial, we got the hockey puck, we're keeping an eye on the ball. I like it. Okay, Josh, on the consulting side, what is that looking like while you're seeing this building out? Like, what kind of advice and pieces are you throwing in there? Like, no, the bar's too high, or like, what are the thoughts that you're thinking?
Oddly enough, me and Justin seem to see things like really same way, like in a lot of ways. And so that's why what really sold me from going from just consulting on this project to actually wanting to be a part of it is that I think we kind of click in a vision. He was already doing something really cool and wanted me to be a part of it. And, I couldn't say no because it's exactly the vision that I would want to do in this area, which is something different. That's a key part in the beginning is all those things can go into it, whatever. But if you're not doing something different, if you're not offering something that's not already been done a million times, I don't think you're going to find real success, have something really unique like what I think we have at Prey,
I love it.
And I think we got really lucky with being in Vista because I think there is a little gap in Vista, North County, inland for cocktails and the type of service and hospitality we want to provide. I don't think you see it a lot inland, There's a couple spots, but something you see more in the coast or downtown. And to do that at a brewery too, which is really cool. Justin makes amazing beer, but we're also have that same passion for hospitality that Ralph brings and for like cocktails and spirits that I bring. And I think that's an interesting thing. So as soon as on the consulting side, I saw really what he wanted to do and his mentality and how he goes about things. that's someone I wanted to follow and align myself with quickly.
I love it. I love it. All right, Rafi, on the implementation side of things, like what are you seeing as they're building up, as they're putting this thing together? How are you seeing it play out from your eye?
I mean, it's kind of a unique perspective for me now, having gone from being in Justin's shoes and grinding every day and seeing, and sometimes you lose the forest for the trees because you're like, I got a list of 10,000 things and you forget this one big thing I had to do. And so me stepping back from that, I'm not in a management role anymore in any restaurant. And I get to kind of be what I wanted to be originally, was involved in hospitality, and my ideas being like, I can see this and be like, hey, let me just give you some advice because I can see it, because I'm not in, and I've been where I'm like, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
I'm so stressed and tired. I didn't even realize I could have just moved this over and it would make all the difference. So it's been cool to be able to walk in, or, when I go in and be like, hey, I got an idea for this. And they're like, oh, cool. I didn't even think about that because I've got my 10,000 things to do. So I've been really fortunate and lucky to be able to be part of it without having to be so into it that it's just nothing but stress and stress and stress.
Yeah.
So I've been really lucky to be able to help where I can without having to be inundated the way I have been.
I love it.
Yeah.
Mateo, add forest from the trees to that. So, okay, you guys give me, because this is a fun question that I have. What are the things that's happening that the tough things that are happening that the customer has no idea about?
I think what he's talking about, like when you're coming up doing something like this, you're thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna make it perfect. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And then you get hit with the real realities and the workload and the problems and all the things that pop up every day. There's a fire to put out, and it's hard to like get back and focus on the big picture little things of like, oh, I wanted to make this perfect, because you get inundated. It's a wave of things, So having someone like Ralph really definitely helps.
Well, I think guests don't really realize what goes into everyday operations. It's so hard because they walk in and they see, why can't I sit at that table? Well, it's because I have a reservation there in a half an hour. Why did you open at this hour? Well, because our labor percentages are this X amount of dollars, and the more we do, the less we're open, the more we're able to be profitable, and the less we're open, the less liability we have. If we open at 10 a.m., that's 2 more hours between 10 and noon that someone could slip and fall. So there's all these decisions that you have to make every day that guests don't understand. They're like, well, why can't I? Why can't I? And it's not because we don't want to make you happy. It's because we're trying to make as many people happy as we can. And it's hard to do that when everyone wants us. That's why restaurants have rules. It's not because we just want to mess with people and say, hey, we just don't want you to do that. It's because those rules allow us to be as efficient as possible for as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And guests don't understand that. And it's hard to explain that to people about profit margins and reservations and food costs, and why can't I substitute a steak for this little salad? Well, because that doesn't work, And so I think guests the magic of restaurants is that guests don't understand what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's the whole magic of it. They don't have to worry about it. But the drawback is they don't have to worry about it, so they don't understand when they can't get something they want or they can't do what they want. Why can't my kids run around out back? Because they're going to fall or they're going to throw dirt in someone's, food or whatever. So you have to watch your kid, unfortunately. I'm sorry. And it's tough to tell guests that, because being in a hospitality position, my default is yes, how can I help? Yes, what can I do? But the reality is most of the time, the tough part is saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. If I could, but it just doesn't work, So that's the thing, is it's tough because we don't want them to have to think about it. But if they did think about it, it would probably be a lot easier for them to understand why we do the things we do.
Yeah, I think.
Dream team.
I think,
You got a dream team, man.
I think you just nailed it, though. It is, the magic is in having to do all these extremely tough and socially exhausting. It's just it's a tiring job.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's a very, very hard business to operate and run. Everybody, not just me, I have a very, my position is stressful, but everybody all the way down has to deal with customers, has to deal with the kitchen, being in the kitchen and working so hard. The magic is that guest gets to walk in the door and, hi, how may I help? Or how many will it be for? And they get a lovely, little walking tour as they go to their table. They sit down, they have a nice meal, they just enjoy the hell out of everything, they have a few cocktails, and they leave and they go about their night, and they don't even have to think about, but that's why you go out. That's why, because we're not doing dishes, we're not having to cook, You know, we just get to go see friendly people. We get to go feel like we're at home without being at home. That's the magic. So we are, what's that analogy about the duck? You're swimming like hell underwater, but but on the surface,
on the
just
surface.
calm calm and hanging out. That is the magic. He said it perfectly.
I love it, man. You guys are killing it, man. This is awesome. I'm so excited. Okay, so now here's another question I got. You can drink, man. So the question I want to ask about the menu a little bit, because the menu is fairly eclectic. It's not just, it doesn't just have one note, right? It's engaging, and it's an opportunity for anybody who comes in to get something, right? How does something like that get put together, and for the price that it is?
I mean, we knew early on, you have to cater to where you are, number one, but also what you want to be and what you want to show people. So you can't come in specifically to Vista. We couldn't have come in with like a steak 48 or like something, some super high end, hey, we've got, caviar and oysters and $120 steaks. That would never work here. Yeah. So we knew we had to kind of dial that down to, all right, let's focus on burgers and tacos that are very well done. But we also want this menu to be diverse. So you throw in crudo, you throw in these nicer small bite dishes. So elevated pub fare matches what we're doing or what the neighborhood wants and what they can afford, what they will accept. And there are examples of people that I believe went too far too early for this area. So
we've seen it.
Flying Pig was right here.
Okay.
Amazing.
We're not gonna blame it. We're not gonna point fingers.
No. And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm saying I think they had an amazing product. I think they were ahead of their time in Vista. And so we saw that, and when I'm looking at this space, and I'm absolutely no shame on Flying Pig.
I saw them scrambling too. I saw them scrambling. I remember the shrimp and grits. That was my favorite thing on the menu, and it was just gone like the next week. And what are we talking?
Because you realize, hey, this isn't sustainable for this area. So coming into here,
they're killing it at Oceanside.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But you put that in the right location. And that's my point. Is we had to pick the right menu, and also again back to I'm not good at everything. I'm good at what I do. And I need people around me who are good at the things that I'm lacking in. That's business 101. You find
that's fact.
You figure out what you do, and you find people that do the things that are not what you do. That's it. 100%.
That's really what he's good at, though. Honestly, like
I love it.
He's good at leading and assembling a team, and like that's the thing working with Justin that I didn't see going in. Like I didn't realize that. I thought like, oh, I can open a restaurant, I could do all this stuff. Consulting, and I've had a couple of attempts with like really talented friends. But when I worked with him, I realized like Justin is that corner piece. He's so good at putting everything together, managing everyone involved, and like seeing the vision and keeping it on track. So
so then that means, right, next time you go off into a leadership role, then you bring him in as one of your pieces.
I can't wait. I just want to be a piece, man. They want me to have everything.
Pick up the phone on you at least.
I don't want another management role. I want this one to just evolve and stay here because we have a great team.
We hired actually both of their good friends, but Josh specifically, Gunnar Planter, who is he's well known in this area. He's a brilliant chef, and he was my other consulting. So my two consultants were Josh on the bar side, Gunnar on the food side. And we actually ended up hiring his old sous chef, his name is Chewy or Jesus, as our chef. So it just worked out perfectly. I got a chef out of the consulting role because he pointed me to Chewy, who has been amazing. I mean, just absolutely amazing. But yeah, you need a professional to help you figure, I'm not in there chefing it up. So you need somebody who can guide you because they also know the industry. And it's not just what you see. It's also the ordering side. It's also, food costing. It's, figuring all the how it actually works on the back end.
Yeah.
You get the final menu and you get what you don't see all the iterations. You don't see how long we spent on the back end figuring out our food costing cards and all that stuff. So it's the
presentation on top of that.
Presentation, and that's everything.
A chef like that because he's coming from a higher end fine dining style, and for him to write a menu like ours, it brings that flair to it. So it's not just burgers and tacos. It's burgers and tacos and other amazing small plates presented and done with French technique or in really great ways, you know? So it comes across very elevated, which is
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Get the bao, get the damn broccoli, get the crudo, 2 kind of burgers, the smash burger and the burger with the oxtail. You can go all day over there, man. I love it, man. Oh, the salads? Come on, man.
Yeah, even the salads are like, you
No,
know,
the
you look
salads
at it, you're like, this looks
is not
beautiful.
Yeah,
like,
that's not your normal salad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And like I said, the pricing is great. So what's next?
Well, we have, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're launching just specifically with this restaurant, and obviously we've got bigger goals than just one restaurant. So I'll leave that one hanging.
Yeah,
I'm not talking too much about
this
that.
restaurant?
What's next for this restaurant? We have 2 things upcoming. Number 1 is going to be this killer late night menu that we've been working on.
Okay.
I'm so excited about it. And this is kind of multifaceted. So for the business people that are kind of interested in a way to lower our labor cost and just the actual man hours that it takes to operate at the end of the night, you know, when you start ramping down, with the last hour that we're open of every day, we're going to do a late night menu. In that last hour, we're taking that menu down to 5 items. We're using a lot of, it's called cross menu utilization. So you're taking ingredients from different menu items and combining to make a new ingredient, essentially. So we're doing oxtail birria goat cheese sliders. We're doing a Nashville hot chicken sandwich. And these are things that we have in-house. We're only going to have available for the last hour. What that also does on the kitchen side is it lowers it down to 5 menu items. Ideally, we've got, when we would have had 2 chefs working that last, and they have to both work the line, one of them can now go and start closing, while the other person only has 5 menu items to complete. So ideally, kitchen staff kind of shrinks down and frees up a little bit of time on that side. And then the drink specials we have coming are just super cool.
It's fun.
It's just fun. So we're trying to, you know, cater to the industry with little Fernet shots. We have 7-ounce little Miller High Lifes that you wouldn't expect in our bar because it is an elevated bar, but deep down, I'm just a dirty brewer who wants to drink Miller High Lifes. I want to, you know, like I love it. I think it's so cool. Other than that, we also are on the weekends starting in April. We'll be launching brunch, and I think
what I was looking for. Bertie told me, but I wasn't gonna say it.
I think this is going to do very well for us.
I think so too.
In this area.
Absolutely.
So, very excited for those.
That's dope. All right, leave us with the last word, Ralphie.
Well, I was just thinking about what's next for me personally, and thinking about, you know, people out there thinking about business and what they're doing. And for me, I do think it's important to spend a career grinding, getting experience, but to get to the point where, like, for me, fortunately, I feel lucky enough to think, I don't know what's next yet, but I'm open to all these different opportunities. And there's so much out there now if you're open to it. If you're not on the one single, like, I have to do this path to this path to this path. There's so much consulting, like getting into brewing or online stuff, and there's just so much traveling to see what else is out there. I think it's cool to just be open to stuff now, especially with how our world is so interconnected. Like, you could get a job anywhere in this country, not even having been there, because there's so much stuff going on. So for me, it's awesome to see what our industry can do. And there's so many opportunities, whether you want to be in management, whether you want to be an owner, which I don't know how you do it, man. It's exhausting.
With you two is how I do it. So,
but I think quality of life is something that you really got to look for me personally. And I think this industry can be that for you if you do it right, but it's not easy.
That's right.
I'm not going to say you get good quality of life right off the bat in this industry, but you can get it if you do enough, if you work hard enough, if you grind hard enough, and you put yourself in the position with the right people, that you earn that. You know, I think it's possible. And I'm lucky that I'm on the other side of that hump now, where I can be like, I can get to pick and choose who I work with, where I work, what I do. I've been super fortunate. So I think,
yeah, man, you're the man, Ralphie. There's no doubt about it. And let's not forget that twice in this episode, Ralphie has mentioned traveling. So, and we know, like, what country are you going tomorrow, Ralphie?
I'll be in the Bahamas in like 3 weeks.
See, yeah.
So I need that time off.
Thank you. But what I would say about what you said, though, is, although all those opportunities are out there, that you have to be prepared to take off with them, right? You have to be prepared. You have to be educated. You know, spend your time wisely so that when those opportunities come to you.
100%. I've told people that. They're like, hey, can I get hired to be a bartender? I'm like, sure, tell me how to make a Manhattan. They're like, what? Like, if you want to, be ready for the job you're asking for, you know, in anything you're doing, because the knowledge is out there. The knowledge for any of these jobs, for any brewing job, you can read books and be vastly farther than any other applicant out there. But people don't want to earn the job until they get it. It's like the other way around, you know?
It's crazy. Man right there. That's Ralphie. How about the last word from you, Josh?
Just bring hospitality to whatever you do. And read Will Guidera's book, Unreasonable Hospitality. Ralph passed it on to me. It's great for every industry. Just be gracious.
What's the book
again? Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidera.
It's awesome.
Amazing. If you're a real estate agent, any business you have, read that book. It'll enhance your hospitality and the way you interact with your customers. And it will make you a better person. It'll make you a better business person. It's amazing. And find balance in your life and read that book.
Love it.
There you go.
How about a last word, some contact information?
Oh man. Yeah, I would say intentional consumption is how I have gotten to this point. So you're saying reading books for brewing, that's literally, you know, it wasn't a very hands-on teaching for me when I got my first job in brewing. I just went and was reading books constantly and was just like, you know, I read through the water book, the hops book, like every raw ingredient. I read, you know, Brew Like a Monk. I must have read 40 books on just brewing specifically.
Yeah.
When I started learning more on the restaurant side, it was intentional with podcasts, you know, make good use of your time. And then you just have to have that goal in the back of your mind at all times. So just intentional consumption. Don't waste your time on scrolling the internet. You know, we all do it, but like, are you being intentional with your time?
That's beautiful. And surround yourself with good people, obviously.
And surround yourself with good people.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Okay. How does everybody find you? How does everybody find this good food we've been talking about? New drinks and this good beer, all of this.
Yeah. So we have 2 locations. One open to the public, and that's at 110 Main Street in downtown Vista. We're at the base of the Ryland Apartments. Great location, right in the heart of downtown Vista. We're also at Prey Beer. Prey is spelled Prey, by the way. And then, my personal is J Stam Brews, JSTAM. So check me out.
That's what he does. He brews. On top of many other things. You guys, we appreciate you guys listening in today. Same business, different day. Follow us, like us, subscribe, comment, do all the good things to help the algorithm grow. SAMEBIZPOD is the IG, and at A Different Day Radio as well. Thank you for all the crew. Mateo, you killing them, man, every time.
Thanks, Mateo.
And everybody else that's involved in all the work that we do. Shout out to the Film Hub. Same business, different day. Cheers.
Cheers, boys.